My name's Peter Fisher. Welcome to another MySQL Console tutorial. Today we're going to talk about aliasing within a MySQL Console query. So we're in the console right now, and if I was to describe the customer table, we can see its structure. And if I did a quick select all from customer, we can see its contents. So let's say, for instance, we want to change the first name and last name to be something like F1 and F2. So we would need to create an alias of the first name and last name to something different. Now there's two ways of doing this. The first way is to specify the alias straight after the field name. And I'll show you an example of that now. So let's clear that, run that back for reference, and then we do select, and then we say, okay, I want the first name, and instead of doing a comma and then straight into last name like we did before, we enter a space and then we add the alias that we want first name to be. So in this case we want F1, and then with last name we would want F2, and then we would continue the query as usual. So that's from, and then the table name, which in this case is customer. Let's open that up, and we can see that first name and last name has been changed to F1 and F2. So that's one way of doing that. The second way of doing that, and if I was to just clear screen, run that back for reference, is to specify the as keyword. Now the as keyword isn't required, but in my opinion it works quite well because it makes the query more readable. So let's try that. So select first name as F1, comma, last name as F2, and then from customer. Okay, so it's the same query, but we've added the as keyword between the field name and its alias. In my opinion, that makes it more readable because we know that anything with as is an alias because the thing on the right is an alias to the thing on the left. I find that quite difficult to read because we're relying on the space in between, and if we forget the comma, then we get an error. So the next thing we will look at is using the alias within a where clause. So let's bring that back, run that again. So let's do a select first name as F1, last name as F2, from customer. Now I'm going to create an alias of customer and I'm going to call that C. Okay, where, and then I'm going to reference the alias. I'm going to reference the table, so that's C, and then I'm going to go dot, and then I'm going to have is active is equal to 1. So that'll bring back both records. So let's enter that. We can see that to return both the records again because the isActive flag is set to 1. But we've used a reference. We've used an alias of customer as C, and we've gone C dot isActive. Excuse me. Well, this is fairly useful when we're joining tables together. So you could have multiple tables in a query that you're joining, and these tables could have the same field name. So for instance, the ID is a good example, the primary key, the uniquely identified key. You could have a customer table and you could have an orders table, and you could be selecting all orders from a particular set of customer IDs. Because you've got two IDs in two fields called IDs in both the customer and the orders table, you would need some way of aliasing that C or T1 or whatever you've called it is the customers table, and T2 or O or whatever is the orders table. So you would do where CID is equal to, I don't know, 5, and then it's join that onto the orders ID. I'll come on to joins a little bit down the line We're not quite ready for that yet. But this is the basics to aliasing. It will help later down the line in the other tutorials. If you've got any questions, queries, then do put them in the comments and I'll try and get to them as soon as I can. But yes, this is how you create aliases in MySQL. Thanks again, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.